It isn't what you think. This virus is not in fact what you have been led to believe. Like a religious belief, a blind faith in the system and arms of the state has rendered the masses infantile, crying for mother's milk, mother's grace and soothing maternal healing, her promises of safety, her guarantees of protection. It isn't what you think, it is what you fear. It is what you are afraid of that shapes your perspective. Your vision has been blurred by sweaty brow. Anxiety has soiled the pits of your cotton garments. Fear and anxiety have usurped society's ability to reason, its capacity for rational thought, and ability to spiritually discern. No, in fact, it is not what you think, but what you fear. Anxiety and emotion have spread across the globe in such a way that now a rabid mob remains. Overblown news broadcasts, hysterical Reddit posts, and social media platforms smoke with erratic and dramatic fervor over inconclusive evidence and exaggerated figures. As the fearful run and hide, begging to be hid away in their safe spaces, far and away from impending dis-ease. They relish in their captivity, finding refuge in their toiletries, assured that it will save them. And save the world from the tentacles of a big, bad virus. Yet they far from understand the information that has been given them, and they overcompensate for visions and projections of the unknown. They trade their humanity for mystery meat. How is it that such drastic actions are being taken for reasons unfounded? If this so-called virus was as deadly as reported, sure it would be causing mass death uniformly across the world. Death does not discriminate. How is it that entire countries like Romania, for instance, have but 400 cases, or Hungary, that displays 10 million strong in population, has a mere 130 cases with only 6 deaths in the span of 3 whole months? Yet the Prime Minister is frantically shutting down the country as if the bubonic plague has reached its soil. It isn't what you think. It's what you fear. A virus seems to be playing the role of the villain in this drama, the perfect trigger for the rolling out of an authoritarian technocratic dictatorship. Unfortunately, these safety promises, relief measures, and security packages are mere placeholders for bigger ambitions, colder results. And these processes will lead to reform that will not be temporary, nor reversible. They will be permanent and enforced by hammer and fist. And this is not an event. It is a paradigm shift in the guise of a freak accident, a crisis being abused by abusers for ulterior motives, breeding a pandemic for spiritual implosion, interpersonal distress, and economic collapse.
You are an old man who thinks in terms of nations and peoples. There are no nations. There are no peoples. There are no Russians. There are no Arabs. There are no third worlds. There is no West. There is only one holistic system of systems. One vast and immane, interwoven, interacting, multivariate, multinational dominion of dollars. Petrodollars, electrodollars, multi-dollars, Reichmarks, Rins, rubles, pounds, and shekels. It is the international system of currency which determines the totality of life on this planet. That is the natural order of things today. There is no America. There is no democracy. We no longer live in a world of nations and ideologies, Mr. Beale. The world is a college of corporations, inexorably determined by the immutable bylaws of business. The world is a business, Mr. Beale. It has been since man crawled out of the slime, and our children will live, Mr. Beale, to see that perfect world in which there's no war or famine, oppression or brutality. One vast and ecumenical holding company for whom all men will work to serve a common profit, in which all men will hold a share of stock, all necessities provided, all anxieties tranquilized, all boredom amused.
Though the moment may be temporal, the shocks sustained from society will reverberate for many, many years to come. One does not experience trauma without being changed forever, and society will never be the same. See, the world is not suffering from the big C. It is suffering from the 3 C's: conflation, confluence, and confabulation. Well-known catalysts for manipulation. When the mind is hysterically driven to its cognitive limits via anxiety, the heart waxes cold, distant, detached, and broken, or dripping wet, mushy, and nervously codependent, bipolar, disoriented, and desperate. How can one trust the heart in such conditions? The mind, for that matter? And what there left remains for the spirit? A cavity within a shell remains, a vessel, a body to be moved, a person to be manipulated, quarantined, handled, and managed forcefully, like pieces on the boards of games. We all buy into the big deception to find our places in line, 6 feet apart, without a spine, without a clue, without a moment of peace. Society is now consumed by the spirit of anxiety, and death is its only concern and obsession, and the state within its Herculean arms is the only refuge for life. If you can get a man to fixate upon his death only, you immediately control his living. The interesting part to this is the fact that most people are already accustomed to living in a false reality. The virtual reality of network news and social media simulacra has already replaced the physical world with a synthetic one. In a sense, manufactured reality is already accepted. So it makes sense why it would be so easy for the masses to accept fabricated madness and despair without question. People today are afraid of authenticity. They fear the intimacy packed in the seeds of the living. They trade such a chore for the static imprints of avatars and icons, badges, and emojis. We are perfectly rendered for times as these. Deception cannot be deciphered from sincerity. Good faith is a red flag, and abuse is our medicine. We will beg for our lashes and ask for one more when the pain is dulled by our spiritual numbness and masochistic dispositions. When the blood just isn't quite enough convincing, a gentle lie feels better than a bitter truth. The pipe hits a little different when you feel as if the world is ending. We will beg for our demolition. The hysteria of manufactured chaos in the media is better than reality. For the appeasement and taming of the emotions, it's just easier to have your thoughts made for you. This isn't a killer virus. This is a mass psychological operation being taken out on the entire earth. Death is inevitable in this life, but the usurpation and domination of humankind will take arduous measures, extreme measures. And today, it is clear that those measures are disproportionate to the situation at hand. As if we were not already dysfunctional in a destructive society. This reality is exacerbated further by our now enforced and internationally mandated isolation, transformed into sardines encased by our tin can living quarters. We fester and itch. We grow more and more impulsive and suggestive by the hour. Well, surely not all of us, but a great majority appears to be rotting from the inside out, as if they were not already. They will say, Pornhub seems to perform a little better when you think the world is ending. What am I to worry? My shelves can't seem to bear much more weight in bottled alcoholic beverages, and neither can my liver. Who needs sleep when I have the latest console with the latest brain-deadening video games to fry myself with for the next 16 hours or weeks? What's life anyways but an opportunity to further end it? Screw it, on quarantine, every night is a Friday night. Every day is a moment to get bent. Is it not that this predicament we have so swiftly been placed in, breeding our deepest and lowest natures? Reinvigorating our forgotten vices and neglected old habits, switching our moderation to fixation, turning our guilty pleasures into involuntary compulsions, at the behest of our masterclass statesmen and scientific elite? What left decency have you? What left virtue exists in that little space you call man? That diminutive morsel called woman? Isolation has been scientifically proven to induce one with anxiety and depression, whereby abuse is encouraged, both self-harm and interpersonal dysfunction. Is it no surprise that domestic abuse hotlines are blowing up already, within literally a matter of days under such confinement? Could suicide numbers increase as well over time? It would follow that within these conditions, child abuse would increase as well. Porn use is increasing, drug use is increasing, overall interpersonal abuse is increasing. Escapism has become God. What if all of this wasn't just some brash reaction to some vague and elusive virus, but designed and sculpted as an experiment, an operation of global proportions? Knowing very well the implications and results spiritually and psychologically of its subjects. To add, aside from outright execution, death by gas, bullet, or rope, what is the most severe form of punishment and containment practiced for the most violent and unruly citizens by the state? Solitary confinement. Isolation. The antithesis of humanity's interpersonal nature, the death blow to the soul, an ultimate means to subdue it.